طيب، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا. Welcome everyone to today's session, where we are gonna finish off what we started on Saturday بإذن الله الكريم, where we were talking about Unit 2 of this book, العربية بين يديك. طيب, first thing, like always, is I'm going to share with you the WooClap link. It's the same WooClap link as last time actually, but I'm going to share it again in the chat. Please join WooClap. Still have quite a few questions to answer from last time. Okay. طيب, so last time, alhamdulillah, we talked about we obviously explained the 3 dialogues. Alhamdulillah, we had the workshop, and when it comes we finished at grammar explanation, where we talked about the 3 parts of Arabic speech, and we said that all of the words you'll come across in the Arabic language can be categorized into one of 3 categories, okay, which were اسم وفعل وحرف, or أسماء أفعال and حروف, they're plurals, and they are, as we said, the 3 categories of speech, and we defined all of them as well. We said that nouns, they name something or someone, or they refer to someone or something already known, specifically when we're talking about pronouns such as this or that or he or she, and they do not denote a particular tense. So nouns are not connected to any time or any tense. Okay, I say Muhammad, I say book, I say whatever. It doesn't give you indication of when, as opposed to verbs. Verbs denote a specific tense, past, present, or future, and they also convey the occurrence of an action. These 2 things are really what a verb is about. Okay, action at a specific time. So that's really what a verb is about. And verbs, really, these are the 2 main categories. Okay, and then the 3rd category are particles, and they are just extra things, if you like, that add meaning to verbs or nouns, and they're very important. You can't underestimate them. And also another beautiful thing about huruf is that they've got very high impact, what I call high impact. Basically, their number is very few, but you'll see them all over the place. So definitely, they are part of what in any language is called function words, which are a group of words which you're bound to find in every single sentence, but to memorize them, maybe maximum, it's 50 words or 60 words, as opposed to the thousands and thousands of nouns and verbs in a language. Okay, so it's very important to focus on these huruf and understand what they mean. For example, you have the question words. A lot of them, even though they're nouns, they are function words, alright, such as huruf al-jar as well, and the likes. طيب. Alright, so just to recap or to refresh our minds, just answer these 2 questions inshallah on WooClap. First question says, match each category of speech with its definition or part of its definition. Okay. Okay, what I'm wondering is, one second, isn't it meant to mix it up? Okay, go back to WooClap and answer the question inshallah. Alright, so match each category of speech with its definition. Okay, so we have 3 people that say that asma, nouns, name someone or something, and af'al do not refer to someone or something in of itself, and particles do not have a meaning by itself. So from what's apparent, everyone's got the answer correct. Ahsantum, 100%. Okay, next question. Match each category of speech with its appropriate example. Match each category of speech with its appropriate example. Okay, so most of you are saying that for huruf we have fi, for nouns we have anta, and for af'al we have yatawadda, which is correct. Yatawadda is not a noun, and anta is not a verb. Okay, so whoever said that, you got it wrong. Okay, so a few mistakes here, but alhamdulillah, generally speaking, still a very good answer. طيب ممتاز. Alright, now let's go on to talk a bit more detail about verbs. So we've been talking about nouns, we've introduced nouns a lot, we talked about personal pronouns, we talked about demonstrative pronouns, all of them are types of nouns. But today we're going to give a bit of love to verbs, okay? So verbs, one thing about a verb is that there's one thing that every single verb needs to have, okay? A verb cannot exist without a noun, okay? A noun can exist without a verb, but a verb cannot do without a noun. Okay, so every single verb you will ever come across, there has to be a noun associated with it. And that noun is what we call the verb's subject, or in Arabic it's called fa'il, which basically is the person that did that verb. This obviously goes back to our aqidah that we have in Islam. Yes, that every action has to have a doer. Okay, that's why when we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, we know that there has to be a creator, as opposed to the illogical belief of atheists, right? That think that everything came about by chance. That's not possible. So every action has a doer. So this doer in Arabic, grammar-wise, is called fa'il. Okay? And you will never understand a sentence properly until you figure out who the fa'il is for the verb in the sentence. So if you come across a sentence with a verb, but you don't know which noun is the fa'il, then you will never understand that sentence. Okay? And Arabic, figuring out the fa'il or the doer of the verb is slightly more complicated than English. In English it's pretty easy, to be honest. In English, whenever you have a verb, then, and I've mentioned this many times before, especially in the Arabic Essentials course, which is that English is a fixed order language, which basically means that every word has its place within the sentence. So if I say, for example, Khalid hit Ahmed, yes, then you know that Khalid did the hitting. He's the fa'il. He's the doer of the verb. And Ahmed got hit. You know that. Why? Because I mentioned Khalid first. So Khalid hit Ahmed. Khalid is the perpetrator. Ahmed is the victim. Now if you flip the two words and you say Ahmed hit Khalid, the roles have also flipped. Now Ahmed is the perpetrator and Khalid is the victim. So in English it's pretty straightforward for you to figure out the fa'il or the doer of the verb. But in Arabic it's slightly more complicated. In Arabic it's not that easy, because Arabic is what we call a 3-word order system. The words, they don't have a strict order. Okay? You can mention the doer first, or you can mention the victim first. So you can say, for example, ضرب محمد or خالد. Let's stick with the two same names. ضرب خالد أحمد. So Ahmed got hit. Or you can say ضرب أحمد خالد. Still, Ahmed got hit, even though we mentioned Ahmed first. Okay? And how do we know then, if we don't have the fixed order, how do we know who is the verb subject, or who is the fa'il, and who is what we call the object or the maf'ul bi? How do we know? We know that by way of the harakat at the end. The fatha, the kasra, and the dhamma that come at the end of a word. They tell us what grammatical function that word plays in the sentence. So that's a whole science, or a whole section in Arabic called ilm al-i'rab. Okay, declension. Okay, and that's really what is commonly referred to as nahu, or Arabic grammar. It's mainly about that. It's mainly about these harakat at the end, how they change. And even though in the second unit we're going to start introducing some of those harakat and how they change, inshallah, going forward. Okay, so for the fa'il, the verb subject, you would normally recognize it because it has a dhamma at the end. Okay, so we'll start with that now. Later on, when we introduce the maf'ulun bihi, or the verb's object, then I will also tell you how to recognize the object. But for now, the verb subject is going to have a dhamma at the end. Okay, so this will become clear with examples. You already have obviously been exposed to a few sentences that have verbs in them in this unit, such as for example, in the, I think it was the third dialogue, when the mother and father are talking and asking each other where the children are, and they said something around the lines of such and such في الحمام يتوضأ, or for example such and such تقرأ القرآن, or يصلي في المصلى, and the likes. Okay, so these are verbs now that you already been introduced to. طيب, so that's one thing. Secondly, we have what we call verb types. So Arabic has 3 types of verbs. In Arabic, we have 3 types of verbs. طيب. So before I do that, let me ask you, what is a verb's subject? فاعل. Let's see if you understood me or not. طيب. Doer of the action. Okay. That's the best way to describe it. I agree. Doer of the action. Okay? Doer of the action. Obviously, that doer could be a person, it could be an animal, or whatever. Whatever action, verb that you have, I would say doer of the verb is what we call the fa'il. طيب, ممتاز. Okay, next question. This, I'm going to ask you this before I even expose you to it. I want to see your prior knowledge. What are the main verb types in Arabic? Okay, so Arabic, generally speaking, they are to be categorized into 3 main verb types. What are they? Past, present, future. Past, present, and command. I have no clue, no problem. We're here to teach you, inshallah. Past tense, present, and command. ماضي, مضارع, and أمر. أحسنت. أحسنت. So yes, ماضي, مضارع, and أمر, which stands for past, present. مضارع doesn't really mean present, to be honest. Okay, and فعل مضارع isn't always present, doesn't always denote present tense, but nevertheless, let's call it present tense. And then we have أمر. طيب, no, it's not past, present, future. These are the 3 tenses. Okay, and that's not just something specific to Arabic. This applies to all languages. You know, this applies to time. Time that Allah has created is of 3 tenses. You have past, present, and future. There's no 4th option, right? So that's not to do with verb types. That has to do with the 3 tenses of a verb. Okay, so that brings us to the next question, which is, what are these verb types based on? So if they're not based on tenses, what are they? What are they based on? When we say 3 types, what are they based on? 3 types based on what? Okay? Tense. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. No. They're not based on tense. They are not based on tense. Even though sometimes people, they say they are based on tense, mainly because mudari' for the most part is present. Command tense can only be in the future, or the actual verb will take place in the future. And madi is the only one that we can say actually means past tense. Fi'l madi means past tense. But mudari' and amr, not really. They're not really based on time neither. Neither are they based on tone. What they are based on is what we call بناء الفعل. Okay? What they're based on basically is how we conjugate the verb. Conjugation. واضح? So we conjugate فعل ماضي in a certain way, we conjugate فعل مضارع in a certain way, and we conjugate فعل أمر in a certain way. In other words, we conjugate, as in conjugate, what it means is basically we create, right? We kind of like, it's like when you're playing with Legos, for example, right? You put the blocks together. صح? So when we have ماضي, from ماضي, we make the مضارع. And that follows a specific pattern, specific steps, right? And then from the مضارع, we make the أمر. Okay? Alright? And then the ماضي, the way that the pronouns that connect to a verb, we mentioned that there are pronouns that connect to a verb. So the fa'il that we talked about earlier, the fa'il, the doer, yes, sometimes it's a normal noun, like kharaja Muhammadun, and sometimes it is what? It is attached to the verb itself. Now, when the pronoun attaches to the madi, it's different from when it attaches to the mudari'. واضح? So that's why we have these three types of verbs, because the way we transform the verb from person to person differs for each one. Do you understand? So the way we make fi'l madi into I, for example, read, you read, they read. In English, they're separate words. In Arabic, la, they join to the verb. So the way they join to fi'l madi and the pronoun that joins to fi'l madi is different from the pronoun that joins to fi'l mudari'. So the structure of the verb and the way we conjugate it and we change it from pronoun to pronoun is different for all of these three types of verbs. So when we say verb types, we're actually talking about how we conjugate it. We're not talking about tense particularly, because fi'l mudari' doesn't always mean present tense. Okay? So for example, to give you an example of fi'l mudari' that doesn't mean present tense is, for example, if you say, for example, يعتقد المسلمون بأن الله واحد, for example, that Muslims believe that Allah is one. Now that's not present tense. But generally speaking, Muslims always believe that. Not just the past, not just present, not just the future. This is the i'tiqad or the aqeed of Muslims. So now we can't say that mudari' means present tense. As a matter of fact, the name mudari', okay, the name mudari' is actually has more to do with the fact that fi'l mudari' means to be similar to something. Okay, to be similar to something. So fi'l mudari' is called fi'l mudari' because it is similar to nouns in many ways. That's why it's called fi'l mudari'. Okay, but we'll talk about that later, how fi'l mudari' is similar to nouns. Okay, that's something not important for you now. Okay, okay, so this is why we call them these verb types. So remember them: fi'l madi, mudari' and amr. Fi'l madi, mudari' and amr. Fi'l madi always means past tense, for the most part, but there are times when it doesn't. There are times when it doesn't. Okay, so for example, Allah says in the Quran, أتى أمر الله فلا تستعجلوه. Your Lord's affair has indeed come, so do not be hasty. Yani the day of judgment. Now, has the day of judgment come? No. But still Allah used the past tense. This is to show that it is bound to come. Okay, so the verb is actually not really in the past tense. Okay, so, but it is for the most part. Fi'l mudari' also for the most part. So when we say fi'l madi is past tense for the most part. Fi'l mudari' when we say present tense for the most part. But there are exceptions to that rule. Okay? طيب. But for now, I don't even want you to memorize them as, or remember them as past tense or present tense or imperative verb. لا. Okay? And as a matter of fact, going forward, I'm probably going to write the Arabic here and put the English between brackets. I think that's better. Yes? So remember them in their Arabic terms. الفعل الماضي, الفعل المضارع, فعل الأمر. Remember them like that. Okay? Or ماضي, مضارع and أمر. Remember them like that. Okay? Forget the English. The English is just to help you understand. But I don't want you to memorize. I don't want you to say, for example, Ustad, this is the verb subject, this is the verb's object. La 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 la. Say to me, this is fa'il, this maf'ulun bihi. For example, once you memorize it, just remember the Arabic terms, because they're more precise and they'll benefit you more in the future if you want to pursue Arabic grammar in more detail, inshallah. Okay? And I think going forward, we're going to do that anyway. So even here, when I say verbs, I'm probably going to call it af'al going forward. Personal pronouns, ضمائر. Interrogative words, adawat al-istifham. So inshallah ta'ala going forward, I'm going to do that. I should have done that actually, but let me know what you think about that, by the way. طيب, ممتاز. Then we have Okay, so that's as it relates to verbs. Okay, the verbs that you have learned, or the af'al, let's say, stick with that, the af'al that you've learned so far in this unit, such as يتوضأ, يقرأ, يصلي, they're all فعل ايش؟ مضارع. they're all فعل مضارع. they're all فعل مضارع. أين محمد؟ يصلي, he is praying. أين فاطمة؟ تقرأ القرآن, she's reading the Quran. واضح؟ Okay. Now, when it comes to these verbs, yes, like we said earlier, there's a level of conjugation, as in they're a bit different when you use them for female, for male, singular, dual, plural. So the same sort of rules that apply to pronouns also apply to these verbs. But we did say clearly that the verb itself doesn't have these attributes. It's rather the pronouns that we attach to it. It's about the pronouns that we attach to it. Okay? واضح? Okay, ممتاز. طيب, then we have ضمائر. Okay, so we've talked about the ضمائر before, the personal pronouns. Let's quickly recap. I like to always recap what we've done. So the first question is, what is a personal pronoun? What is a ضمير? What is a ضمير? Would current state be a better definition than present tense? Not really, because it doesn't have to be current state. Okay. I mean, in grammar, يعني, they call it present tense. So, but like I said, when we say فعل مضارع, it's not related to tense anyway, if we're strictly speaking Arabic terms. Okay. طيب. Sorry. طيب. Alright. Replace noun, place thing. Okay, they replace nouns. He, she, attached to verb. Okay, that could be a personal pronoun as well. Possessive. Okay, there are possessive pronouns. Possessive personal pronouns. One type of personal pronouns. Naam. So yeah, the best answer so far is replace. Personal pronouns, they replace a noun that has previously been mentioned. They take its place. They refer back to it. Okay. The next question: what are the main personal pronoun features? So when you have a personal pronoun, what makes each one different from the other? What's the difference between huwa and hiya, anta and anti, ana? Okay, so we've done 5 so far. What are these features that make them different? Gender, first, second, third person, attached and detached. MashaAllah, mumtaz. Perfect. So, gender makes a difference. Okay, the fact that they're attached or detached make a difference. And also what we call the person, first, second, or third. Okay, ahsant. طيب. So those are the things that are the main features of personal pronouns. Okay, what are the 2 personal pronoun types when it comes to their form? There are 2 types. When it comes to the personal pronoun, its form, how it looks like, then there are 2 types that we've done so far. Okay, what are they? Attached or detached, naam. Or isolated. Not singular and plural, no. Not singular and plural. Singular and plural are 2 types of personal pronouns when it comes to number. When it comes to number, the number of people that you're referring to. But when we talk about form, the way it looks like, then we have either attached or detached. So the personal pronouns, they look different if they are attached or detached to something. They look different. Okay, so if they're attached, they look in a certain way. When they're detached, they look a certain way, which we call in Arabic ضمير متصل and ضمير منفصل. متصل, joint. منفصل, detached. Okay, how many have we done so far, by the way? Okay, so far we've done 5. So far we've done 5 personal pronouns. Okay, now let's write the isolated personal pronouns we have done so far. You should know this like your name. Honestly, you should know these like your name. The 5 personal pronouns, we've done 5 so far, by the way. The isolated personal pronouns we've done so far, list them, write them down. Okay? And I'm telling you, you should know them like your name. هو هي أنت أنت أنا basically. Okay. أنت أنا أنت هو هي. No, this is 4. You're missing 1. Okay. I advise you to just stick to one sequence. Okay. You don't write anta and anti like that. That's not how you write it. But you're close. Anti, هو, هي, أنت with a فتحة and أنا. أحسن. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I personally advise you to just stick to the order. Anna always start with the first person, then go to the second person, and generally speaking, normally start with the male and then the female. Okay? Okay? Because if you stick to one particular sequence, you're less likely to forget them. Anna, Anta, Anti, Huwa, Hiya. Anna, first person, Anta, Anti, second person, Huwa, third person, Hiya, third person. Start with the male, masculine, and then the feminine. Okay. Now I want you to write the attached. Write the attached personal pronouns that we've done so far. So we've done 5 as well. Actually, we've done 4, but the 5th one I gave you as a bonus. Alright, last lesson. Okay? Yalla. You should know them like your name. Okay, we have ka, ki, hu, and ha. You're missing 1. And ya, na'am. So ya, the E basically, which is mine. Kitabi. Then we have kitabuka. Or let's say ismuka. Okay, ismi, ismuka, ismuki, ismuhu, and ismuha. Hali, haluka, haluki, haluhu, haluha. والدي والدك والدك والده والدها أمي أمك أمك أمه أمها واضح؟ بارك الله فيكم أحسنتم. طيب, I'm going to ask you again next lesson, so please memorize them and remember them like your name. And we had done obviously you've done the little diagram if you like, just to refresh your minds. I'm going to show you again the Arabic pronouns diagram. Okay, which is ana, anta, anti, huwa, hiya. Okay, all these are masculine, these are feminine, first person, second person, third person. Ana, anta, anti, huwa, and hiya. These are the isolated pronouns. Then we had the attached pronouns. Ya, ka, ki, hu, and ha. Okay, so remember this, inshallah. I'll share this with you in the group, inshallah. Okay. So what I would advise you to do probably is, best advice would be, just actually I'm gonna make you an exercise where you fill in the blanks. You fill in the blanks. So just do that every day until you get the hang of it. So you can have this. All of this is gonna be gone, and then you just gonna fill in the blanks. Or you can print it out and just write it every day if you like. Okay, until you get fluent. Okay. Sheikh, I thought Arabic personal pronouns should start with he, she, you, and I. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what you mean with should start. I don't know what you mean with should start. Okay? Generally speaking, you start with the first person, then you go to the second person, then you go to the third person. Okay? Type. Let's go back. And okay, so now we have the interrogative words. Going forward, I'm going to call them, like I said, question words, because it's easier. So what is a question word? We said it's a function word used to ask questions. Now the question here on WooClap now is, Okay, and I want all of you to take part. List the question words we have learned about so far. Try list and write down all the question words we've learned about so far. What are the words that you can use to ask questions that we've come across so far? Inshallah, next lesson we'll talk about their subtle differences. But now I just want you to list them down, inshallah. Okay, هل صح. أين not ابنة. ما من. Okay, we have هل already. Okay, كيف. نعم. So those are the ones we've done so far. Barakallah feek. Okay, so the ones we've done so far are what? We've done ما, كيف, هل, and أين. Okay, and the new question word we've done this week is men. This has been done this week, which is basically a question word used to ask about. It's an open-ended question, definitely. You're not going to answer with a نعم or لا. Someone says to you من هذا, you're not going to say نعم or لا. It's an open-ended question. And what's the difference between man and ma? You should know it, but you can never be too sure. What's the difference between men and ma? What's the difference between men and ma, or ma and men? Okay, what and who? For intelligence and for non-intelligence. نعم. Okay, for intelligence and for non-intelligence. In other words, you would use men if you're asking about a human being. Okay, من هذا. You would say ma if you're asking about an animal or an object. So it would be extremely rude to say about someone ما هذا. So be careful, don't mix them up. Imagine you go to somebody's house and then their brother walks in, or their sister, and you're like ما هذا. That would be extremely rude. What is this? لا لا, who is this? Okay, طيب, ممتاز. Okay, and it's used for open-ended questions, like we said, and not closed-ended question. Okay, طيب, so that's when it comes to the grammar concepts, the main grammar concepts we wanted to cover last lesson that we didn't get time for. Today, normally, when we have a lesson on Monday, we also talk about a related grammar concept, which hasn't really I mean, it's a related grammar concept. It's there, obviously. It's not something that's outside the text that you've learned, right? But it's something that I find really important for you to know, even though it might not be the main subject of the class, okay? Today's related grammar skill is what we call al-mudaf and al-mudaf ilayh. Extremely important topic. Honestly, for me, if you were to ask me what are the most important skills or the most important topics someone has to learn about or has to master when it comes to the Arabic language, or that normally people struggle with, then I would say to you, and before I say to you, I'm going to ask you actually. Okay? So, for those of you that have learned a bit of Arabic before, yeah, so what are the most important topics? Okay, let's say grammar topics. A beginner should focus on, and I'll add between brackets, that most people struggle with. Okay? Okay, so when I say most important, it's in something that's very oftenly used in the language. It's very frequent. It's not something that you'll come across once in a while. Something that you'll probably come across every sentence or every paragraph. And at the same time, it's something that most people or beginners, they struggle with. What do you think? If you want to speak on a personal level, what are some of the grammar topics that you've been really struggling with when it comes to learning the Arabic language, according to your experience so far? Intelligence refers to human, jinn, and malaika. Not really. Not really. Okay. When we talk about the malaika, sometimes we talk about them using the pronouns for intelligent beings, and sometimes we don't. Alright? But again, that's something more, if you like, aqidah related, if you like. Okay? Okay, someone said, this one has been the most difficult for me always. Is which one? Mudaf mudaf ilayhi yani? Someone said conjugation. Adding the doer to the verb instead of making it separate. Iqra versus ana qara. Or aqra'u and ana aqra. Okay. Fi'l, verbs. Okay. Is it using first and second and third person? I mean, don't go for my opinion. I'm asking you according to your opinion so far. If you've learned Arabic before. What have you struggled with the most? What do you think most beginners struggle with? And then I'll give you my input, which will have a level of, an overview of the language, or the thing that will make the most difference to you. The thing that will make the most difference to your progress, especially as a beginner. I'll mention that in a moment. Yes, because there are some things that maybe you're struggling with, but they're not even that important. Maybe I can say to you, okay, ignore that for now. As a beginner, it's not a big deal. Okay? But I want to know right now what you struggle with. So somebody said the parts of speech in Arabic. Well, if you're struggling with parts of speech, that's a problem. Because it's the most fundamental concept in the language. Because if you do not know the difference between fi'l, ism, and harf, there is no way you'll understand that word, and there's no way you'll know its grammar ruling. There's no way. Because the grammar rules for verbs are completely different from the grammar rules for nouns. So are huruf. I'rab, that's too general, sorry. I'rab is too general. I'rab everybody struggles with. Everybody struggles with that wants to learn Arabic. I want to be a bit more specific. Verb subject order. Okay. Basically kind of related to I'rab. Okay. Conjugation, adding the doer to the verb instead of making it separate. Okay, that's quite specific. I like that. Okay, let's give it another 30 seconds, inshallah. Maybe some of you are typing something up. Okay. Type. Attached pronoun. Alright. In my opinion, someone said to me 5 things. Let's say 5 things that a beginner in the language has to focus on. And inshallah ta'ala, which we are going to focus on as well. I would say number 1, personal pronouns. Extremely important. Okay? Because like I said, these personal pronouns, they refer to someone that has been previously mentioned. And if you don't know who it refers to, and the only way you know who it refers to is by knowing the attributes, if it's a male or female, singular, plural, or the likes, then you're not going to understand the sentence because you don't know who that pronoun is talking about. So personal pronouns, definitely. Second one, I would say mudaf ilayh, which we're going to talk about now. Yes, especially when it's mudaf ilayh followed by another mudaf ilayh. It can get highly confusing. Thirdly, I would say definiteness and indefiniteness. Okay, when something is definite or indefinite. Okay, because that really makes the difference regarding the sentence structure. Okay, if something is a subject or a predicate, I mean, we'll talk about that later. But definiteness and indefiniteness. If you know what that means, alhamdulillah. If not, then don't worry, I'll teach you, inshallah. After that, I would say definitely verb conjugation. Okay, because many people, they tend to time travel. They go from past to present to future to amar to, when they're talking. They don't stick to one tense. Okay, so that is as well something very, very important. And also, I would say the fifth thing would be function words. Yes, generally speaking, huruf, understanding the huruf and what they mean. Okay, mainly because of their high impact. Like I said, small number, high frequency. Anything with small number, high frequency, I call high impact. Those 5 things. Now, there is something that I'm sure all of you struggle with, but I don't see as such a major deal, which is masculine and feminine. You're gonna struggle with masculine and feminine, but this is something that is more like is a cosmetic thing, okay? Because the person will still understand you and you will still understand them, but it will just be a little bit weird, okay? If you refer to a male as to a female, but when it comes to comprehension, you can get away with it, okay? But these 5 things, really, for me, are the most important things that you have to focus on. So let's go to one of these 5 things, one of these 5 superstars that we're going to talk about today, which is al-mudaf and mudaf ilayh. Okay, so what is mudaf and mudaf ilayh? I suppose I'll ask you first before I explain. Let's see what you know about mudaf mudaf ilayh. Because mudaf ilayh, to be honest, most people, they misunderstand its objective. Maybe they'll know what it means, but they don't really understand why we use mudaf ilayh. Okay, so what is al-mudaf and al-mudafu ilayh? If you ever heard of it. Possessor and possessed. I knew you're going to say that. He or she is not talking about jinn, huh? Possessor and possessed as in possession, as in something belonging to someone. Okay, something belonging to someone. So we have here someone saying to possessing and possessed. Another person is saying belonging and owner. Okay. Mumtaz. Okay, no problem. Anyone else? Anything else? Doer and what is done. No. No, that's got nothing to do with doer and what is done. It's got to do with verbs. Okay? That's got to do with verbs. But nice try, nevertheless. Okay, listen. Those of you that say belonging, owner, possessor, and possessed, and this is unfortunately what most grammar books they say, but that's not really the case. That's not really the case. That is a use case from the use case of mudaf ilayh. Okay, so for example, I can say, for example, Beiti, my house. I can say Beiti, my house. But when I say Beiti, my house, am I, generally speaking, is the purpose of me saying Beiti, my house, or Ismi, my name, is the purpose of that to establish the ownership, that my name belongs to me? Is that really why I'm saying Ismi? Is that really why I'm saying Beiti? No. And I'll give you an example. When you say Abi or Ummi, is that ownership? Okay? Or when you say, for example, let's say Rasulullah. Okay? Or no, let's give a better example. Let's say for example, Ummi and Abi would be a good example. I mean, there's not really ownership there. There's more like a connection, right? Or if I say, for example, Baladi, my country. Are we talking about ownership? We're not talking about ownership. The country doesn't belong to me. Okay? Rather, and I want you to pay attention here, the reason why we use mudaf ilayh is to define things. It is to what in Arabic is called qaid. In other words, to restrict something. Okay? Alright, let me give you an example. I don't have it with me now. But let's say we have a Mus'haf, Quran, right? If I hold the Quran, yes, you would say what? You would say Kitabullah, Allah's book, right? Why do we say Kitabullah? Huh? Why do we say Naam ahsan Kitabullah? Why do we say Kitabullah? To differentiate it from all other books. It's not any book, it's Allah's book. When we say Rasulullah, mudaf mudaf ilayh, what's the purpose of it? Not any messenger, the messenger of Allah. If I say qalamul mudarris or kitabul muallim, okay? For example, when it comes to Arabi bayn yadayk, there are two types of books. You have kitabul talib and you have kitabul muallim. So you go to the shop to buy this book, Al-Arabi to bayn yadayk, you're going to find two versions. Kitabul talib and kitabul muallim. Student's book and teacher's book. This is not talking about belonging. It doesn't mean this book belongs to the student. The student hasn't bought it yet. Okay? Rather, it means it's telling you the difference between the two books. One, yes, is a book for the student and one is a book for the teacher. And just because of the fact that it says Kitabul Talib, you know what kind of book it is. When it says Kitabul Mu'allim, you know what kind of book it is. واضح? So, mudaf mudaf ilayh really is used to restrict something. So you have something general, yes, that could apply to anyone or anything. Kitab, it could be any book. But you want to talk about a specific book, which is Kitabullah. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, in the story of Salih, he talks about Naqatullah, Allah's she-camel, or Allah's camel. Okay? Well, how many camels did Allah create? Okay? Nah, but this camel is special. He's a special camel. That's what's called Naqatullah. Okay, how about Baytullah? Allah's house, such as the Kaaba or Mecca, right? Baytullah al-Haram. All of the houses belong to Allah. But now it's a specific house, a special house. That's why we say Baytullah. Okay, so we ascribe it to Allah. The fact that you ascribe it to Allah, it makes it something special. As a matter of fact, anything we ascribe to Allah, it is something special, right? Rasulullah, Kitabullah, Baytullah, and so on and so forth. So this is why we actually use mudaf and mudaf ilayh. So please remember that. Okay, it's not always possession. Okay, and why do I say that? The reason I say that is because when we come with this word, like for example, Adhanul Fajr or Kitabullah, that it normally has kitabun. When we say kitab, we say kitabun. This means it's indefinite. It means any book. But now when we say Kitabullah, we get rid of the noon or the tanween, which basically is the extra noon that we pronounce. We get rid of that. Why? Because it went from being indefinite, as in any book, to a specific book. And that's where most people, they go wrong. This is the mistake that most of you will make. Okay, which is that either you'll pronounce the tanween or you will add an alif lam to the beginning. You will say something like Al-Kitabullah. You cannot believe that even the students in level 3 still make this mistake. I promise you, you'll continue making that mistake a lot. This is the main thing I want you to remember when it comes to mudaf mudaf ilayh. Do not add an alif lam. Don't add an alif lam. Don't say Al-Kitabullah. Don't say Ar-Rasulullah. Because you will say this. Okay. Now the question is, why can't we say Ar-Rasulullah? Why would saying Ar-Rasulullah be wrong? Why? Because even though Rasulun is something indefinite, when we say Rasulullah, this is something specific now. So we can't use the alif lam because the alif lam is called the definite article. It specifies something. So we can have Rasul, means any prophet. Ar-Rasul means the prophet. Okay? But because Rasulullah is already definite, because of the fact that we have ascribed it to Allah, which is definite, we don't add an alif lam. Okay? And this is really important because if you add an alif lam, you're going to change the whole meaning. Okay? واضح? So this is what we call mudaf mudaf ilayh. Okay? Now, a few things I want you to remember. Very important, which is when we say Kitabullah, yes, this in English we would translate to as Allah's book. Allah's book. So here you'll notice a very important thing, which is in Arabic the mudaf comes first and then the mudaf ilayh. It's opposite. Okay? Whereas in English, Allah will come first and then the book. Okay? Now let me ask you a question. Which one do you think is more suitable? And why? Okay? If we look at the two languages, yes? Which one is more correct or makes more sense? I mean, obviously you speak English, so you're probably going to think the English one makes more sense. But let's talk about this now. Does it make more sense to say Allah's book or to say Kitabullah? Should we mention the book first or should we mention Allah first? What do you think? If we look at it from a logical perspective. Okay, that might be a too difficult question. Arabic because it's more specific? No. The book of Allah sounds more formal. Okay, which would be the way it would be in Arabic, the book of Allah. Okay, Kitabullah. No, we should mention the book first. And I'll tell you why. Because when I say Kitabullah, what am I talking about? What's the subject? Okay? Or when I say, for example, Rasulullah, let's say Rasulullah. Okay, when you say Rasulullah, are you going to say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or are you going to say Azza wa Jal? That's the question. Okay, are you going to say Rasulullah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala or are you going to say Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? In other words, when you say Rasulullah, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the messenger or are you talking about Allah? Which is the subject? The subject is Rasul. That's why it makes more sense to mention Rasul first and then Allah. Whereas in English, it gets a bit confusing. Because when you say Allah's book, you're not talking about Allah, you're talking about the book. Do you understand? So this is very, very difficult for people that are learning English. To you, it makes sense because you learn English already. Sah? But this is actually quite wrong. It's the same way that in English, the adverb comes before the noun. Which is madness, to be honest. Like, for example, let's say this, a pen, right? Let's say it's yellow. I would say a yellow pen. But wait a minute, I'm talking about the pen. You should say the pen first and then give me the attributes and the adjectives for that thing. And that's how Arabic works. In Arabic, we mention the noun first and then all the adjectives will follow. So we would say qalamun asfar. You wouldn't say asfar qalam. And I'm telling you, you're gonna struggle with that. You're gonna struggle with that. Okay? Again, like I said, the different order of words is something you're going to struggle with initially, but inshallah with practice, it will be perfect, inshallah. So, al-mudaf wal-mudaf ilayh. Again, like I said to you, the purpose of mudaf ilayh really is to do what? It's to specify something. Okay? And also, and this is really the most important thing, which is, when we say mudaf ilayh, it could either be two nouns, such as Rasulullah, two normal nouns, or it could be a noun and a pronoun, which we've done so far, such as in the book when it says هذا ابنه القاسم, or for example when we say ismuka is mudaf ilayh. Okay, your name. However, we mention ism first and then ka. Ism and anta becomes ismuka. Ibnuhu al-Qasim. Okay, so again, the mudaf ilayh, if you have a noun with another noun attached to it, then now we have the possessive construct. Now we have mudaf ilayh. We have what? The mudaf ilayh. Okay, so when I say ismuka, your name, ismuhu, his name. So this is what we call mudaf ilayh. Okay, really, really important. طيب, also another important thing is that the mudaf ilayh, even though it consists of two words, these two words are considered to be one entity. It's like one thing. So for example, when we say Rasulullah, even though they're two words, we're talking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one entity. Ibnuhu, his son, Al-Qasim. So Ibnuhu and Al-Qasim are the same thing. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wali is the same thing. That's why, my website is called binabdulwali.com. Now binabdulwali.com is not my father. My father's Abdul Wali. Bin Abdul Wali is me. I'm Bin Abdul Wali. Okay? I'm Abdul Wali's son. Okay? So Muhammad and Bin Abdullah are the same thing. They're the same thing, the same entity. They both refer to this guy in front of you who's talking to you now. Okay? So mudaf ilayh, even though they're two words, they refer to one thing or one entity. So remember that. Don't think that they are two separate words and they talk about two different people. La. Talk about one thing. Okay? It's difficult, ya Ustad. No. Believe me, it's not difficult. Believe me. I'm just getting a bit too technical maybe. But inshallah ta'ala, when it comes to practice, putting in practice is not that difficult. You're already putting in practice anyway. You're there, mashallah, in the workshop saying, Ismi fulan, masmuka, kayfa haluka, hada abi, hada sadiqi. When you say things like hada sadiqi, hada akhi, you're using mudaf ilayh. You're using mudaf ilayh. Okay? If you say something like, هذا بلدي هذا كتابي, okay, you're using مضاف إليه. Okay, واضح? So these things, they might sound a bit difficult in theory, right? But once you start practicing them, inshallah, it's going to become really, really easy. Alright, so let's do a Quizlet competition بإذن الله, and after that we will break up for the workshop. Alright? Alright. Competition. How we do this again? Classic. Individuals. Alright. Posted the link in the chat. Or you can just use this code over here. Or you can just scan the QR code. Sheikh, why in Arabic spoken the native do not respect the harakat of word, but in writing we do, please? No, even in writing they don't. Even when they're writing Arabic, they don't write the harakat. Okay? To be honest, it depends on what you mean by native speakers, right? If you listen to durus, or you listen to scholars, or formal speech, or you listen to the news broadcast, or you watch cartoons for kids, they do respect the harakat. But if you're talking about people on the street, or people that are talking to each other within their household, or the likes, they don't respect the harakat, if you like. Okay, and this has just got to do with all languages. Same thing applies to you, my dear brother. Even you, when you're speaking your English language, there are so many rules that you don't respect. Okay, that a non-native will say, hey, why do you speak that fast? Why don't you say this? Why don't you pronounce this letter? Yes, you don't. Okay, because that's how things are. Native speakers, they constantly try to cut corners and simplify their speech. Okay, that's just the way languages work. Okay, so just the way that people on the street, they don't speak formal English, the English of the Queen, when they're talking to each other. Likewise, don't expect Arabs to speak to you in formal Fusha Arabic when they're out and about on the streets. They don't. But this sort of Arabic is a sort of Arabic you'll listen to in durus. It's a sort of Arabic you will see in books. It's a sort of Arabic you will hear on the news, or specifically children's cartoon as well. Children's cartoons, they really preserve the Fusha. That's why sometimes I advise beginners in the language to watch Arabic children cartoons, specifically the very innocent cartoons for 3 or 2-year-olds. Sah? Believe me, you're going to pick up a lot of the language. And they always speak Fusha. And that's one of the reasons why when you come here to an Arab country and you start speaking Fusha, people sometimes get really entertained. Sometimes they really laugh at you. Okay? Specifically if there are people that, socially are not that knowledgeable and that haven't really, gone to university and the likes. Just people that are common folk. Sometimes when they hear you speaking Fusha, it's hilarious for them. And do you know why? Because to them, the Fusha they can remember is the Fusha they used to watch on TV when they used to watch cartoons. So you sound like a cartoon character to them. I remember once, when I was new, I just went to a supermarket and I was speaking to the guy, speaking with him Fusha. Initially at the beginning, obviously now I don't, but then you're new to the country. You haven't really picked up the local accent yet. And I spoke to him in Fusha and the guy really laughed at me. Like he cracked up to the extent that he called his colleague over the next booth. Like he's like in a supermarket, didn't it? These thingy. And he's like, yeah, Abu Fulan, tal. He's like, come here. And he's like, listen to this guy. And I'm just sitting there being embarrassed. So the point is, they think it's funny because Fusha to them is what they used to watch on cartoons. Some people, not all people obviously, but some people, right? Specifically the uneducated ones. So it's no different from you speaking English to your friends or at home. Okay? Type. So we have 8 players so far. We got 18 people in the Zoom. So yalla, tfaddal, I'm waiting for you everyone. Barakallah fikum. Are you having difficulties joining? Shall we start? Scan barcode. Okay, I'll send the link, no problem. I'll send the link again. Oh man, I said the link before, right? There you go. Can't get into the Quizlet. I don't know, like maybe try the app. All right. We have 14 of you now. I think it's okay to start. Okay. I'll give you 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mumtaz. I think there's 2 of you missing. Only 1 person missing so far. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, you can join for the next round. Let's start. Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Mustangs are ahead, closely followed by pandas. Chameleons jumped out of nowhere. Mustangs still on top. Chameleons catching up. Tight race. Chameleons out of the game. Made a mistake. Starting all over again. Mustangs are still slowly ahead, keeping their cool, mashallah. Pandas are trying to catch up. Unicorns are also in the race. Pandas and unicorns ahead. Mustangs fell behind. Pandas gaining ground. I think pandas are going to win, mashallah. Wow, that was like a last minute drive, mashallah. Type. Let's play again, inshallah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We normally do best out of 3. Okay. Bismillah. Okay. Chameleons are back in the game. Pandas are out of it. Very difficult to catch back up again. You make a mistake in this sort of game, it's game over. Chameleons are still ahead. Mustangs, I don't know what happened to them. So the 2 main contenders of the last round are out. Oxen, which was keeping up with chameleons, also made a mistake. Mustangs are making a comeback. Kangaroos jumped out of nowhere. Mustangs trying to make a comeback still, but chameleons have the edge. Mustangs trying to catch up. I think chameleons are going to win. Naam. MashaAllah. Mumtaz. Okay. Since we have a new winner, we're going to do another round again, inshallah. Okay. So let's give it another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Oh no. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Zebras, kangaroos. Oh no, we got new names. No, I'm starting. Shouldn't have done that. We got new names now, so I don't know who kangaroos are. So we had so far Najeen and Iya are the 2 that have won. If they win again, then they win today's round. If we got a new winner, then we'll see. So we've got kangaroos ahead now, closely followed by hedgehogs. Ajib. Okay, tigers trying to catch up. Hedgehogs made a mistake. They're out. Kangaroos seem like they're going to win. I wonder if kangaroos... Oh, that was a last second. Unbelievable, Hamza, mashallah. That was literally a last second comeback. Okay, so we don't really have a winner for today. Let's give it one more round, inshallah. Let's see if we get a previous winner. Alright, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see if we can get a clear winner. Bismillah. Zebras always have a very strong start, mashallah. As long as they don't make a mistake. Then we have tigers and kangaroos. It's between them again. Hedgehogs are back into the game. They made a mistake last time. Let's see if they can stay mistake free this time. Ostriches, tigers and zebras both gone at the same time. So ostriches, hedgehogs, this is a tight one. Hedgehogs out, made a mistake. Oof, alligators. Lynx jumped out of nowhere. Wow, where'd you come from? MashaAllah. Ahsan Mahdi. I don't know where you came from. Okay, so we have 4 winners today, 4 separate winners. MashaAllah. We'll suffice with that, inshallah. Seems like. Shall we do one more round? What do you think? One more round? I'm leaning towards one more round. What do you think? Absolutely, huh? Alright. Okay. Let's go for it. I'm warmed up. Okay. Let's see what you can do. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Hedgehogs always have a good start, like we said. Oh, Lynx is really warmed up, mashallah. It's going for it. Okay, hedgehogs again, they're in the game as long as they don't make a mistake. Okay, zebra, same thing. You always have a strong start, but don't make a mistake. But lynx are really going for it now. Okay, alligators as well. I don't know what happened to chameleons or ostriches, but lynx is really going for it. I think Mahdi is going to do it. I think lynx are going to do it. MashaAllah, you really warmed up. You snatched the whole game, mashallah, last second. Allahumma barik. So today's winner is Mahdi, mashallah. Ahsant. Barakallah feek. Okay then. One more. Mashallah. One more. Okay, we're going to have to ask the winner. Are you willing? Mahdi, you said you warmed up. What are you saying? You up for one more? What are you saying? Lynx. Not really, but I'll be a good sport. Okay. Great. Okay. Let's see if someone can snatch it from you. You snatched it last minute anyway. Let's see if someone can snatch it from you. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Come on, let's see if you can do it, Mahdi. You can do it. You can do 3 in a row, inshallah. 3 in a row. As long as someone who hasn't previously won, as long as someone that hasn't previously won doesn't win, you're still today's winner, inshallah. Okay? So previously we had Najeen, we had Iya, and Hamza. Okay? If any of those 3 don't win, you're okay. So kangaroos are doing good. Really between kangaroos and lynx at the moment. Hedgehogs have been very strong throughout. Kangaroos are going to win. Sorry, we got 2 winners today. Sorry, man. I know you want to be a good sport, but backfired, mate. Okay, then. Khalas, will suffice with that, inshallah. This will be here forever, okay? Let me quickly show you a preview of what you're going to be doing in the workshop, inshallah, with myself and Ustad Sarah. Definitely, like we said, you are going to do some reading. Okay, you're definitely going to do some reading fluency. I did tell you last week, actually on Saturday, I told you get ready for reading fluency. You're going to be reading from the dialogue. Okay, and also what you'll be doing, inshallah ta'ala, is we're going to do some speaking practice for the most part. So speaking practice is going to happen in one of 3 ways. Okay, so this is going to be new to you, maybe. First one is you're going to make your own sentence, yes, by using what we call categorized vocabulary. So the vocabulary that you've learned this week, I've put them into separate categories so that it's easier for you to make a sentence. Okay, so you have objects, family members, places, verb, and question words. So this makes it easy for you to make a sentence because now you just need to get the sentence structure right and then use any of these words. So you can say, for example, أمي تتوضأ في المصلى, or أمي تتوضأ في الحمام, for example. Okay, or you can say, for example, أين ابن محمد. Then you can answer, for example, هو في الحمام يتوضأ, or هو في المصلى يصلي. Or you can say, for example, أين النظارة. Okay? Or you can say, for example, من هذا, هذه أمي, for example. Okay? Or you can say, for example, أين محمد, هو في المسجد, في المسجد, a place. So the point I'm trying to make is that with these vocabulary being categorized for you like that, it's much easier for you to form a sentence. Okay? Because now you can easily form a sentence because you know where to place each word. Okay? So that we call make your own sentence using these vocabulary, inshallah. And all of these words are words from this unit. So that's what we always do. We always make sure that we use words that we are studying this unit so that we are more exposed to these words. Another thing as well is speaking prompts, okay, which basically is the teacher is going to put this on the screen and you just have to use these prompts to get the conversation going with your classmate for 2 minutes. Okay? Introduce your family members and their occupations. Introduce another person's family member and their occupations. So you can say, for example, هذا أخو محمد. Okay? You can ask about another person's family member. You can say, for example, من هذا, or هل هذا أخوك, or the likes. You can ask about something or someone's whereabouts. أين محمد? Just throw out the question if you like to your classmate. Let them answer. Sometimes they say the best form of defense is to attack. Okay, so you just throw these questions at them and they have to defend, right? أين محمد? أين النظارة? أين المسجد? And then they have to answer. Okay, and then finally we have what we call the random image generators, which basically is practicing making Arabic sentences, right? So this teacher's gonna spin the wheel, right? And you're gonna get 3 words. And as we go on, it will get more and more complicated, right? And the way this one works, for example, is you have a name, a place, and a verb. Okay? So you have to basically come up with a random verb. Okay? Khalil is doing something randomly in the toilet. So you can say, for example, Khalilun في الحمام يتوضأ. So you have to come up with a verb that is suitable for the place. واضح? Okay? And also, more importantly, you have to make sure that you use the correct حركات at the end. خولة في الغرفة. Don't say في غرفة. Even though I wrote غرفة here on purpose, because I want you to put the right حركات there from yourself. So خولة في الغرفة تقرأ القرآن, for example. Or خولة في الغرفة تنام, if you know the meaning of نام. نام ينام is to sleep. And so on and so forth. So this one has to do with name, place, and verb. And there's also another one which has to do with is a relationship, a family member, and then a person's name and occupation. So you can say something like هذه أم سعد وهي طبيبة, for example. Okay? Or the likes. Okay? Or you can say, for example, and you have to obviously come up with the correct demonstrative pronoun. هذا or هذه, depending on the gender. هذه ابنة خولة. ابنة. Don't say ابنة. Like we said, مضاف مضاف إليه. And these both of them, this one and the previous one, we're practicing مضاف مضاف إليه. هذه ابنة خولة وهي معلمة. The occupation is up to you. You can come up with whatever occupation you like. So it's a level of grammar plus vocabulary practice mixed together. Okay? The objective is that you get the harakat, the sentence structure correct, you use the correct masculine or feminine pronouns, and you also use a suitable occupation for that gender. So make sure you say tabiba, don't say hiya tabib, for example. واضح? So this is inshallah what you're going to be doing in the workshop. Any questions before we break up? Assalamu alaikum, sir, I've got an appointment, I cannot attend the workshop, can I record it? We don't record the workshops normally. معلش. But if you mean can I record your pronunciation of the dialogue, then by all means, if you want, read the dialogue, record it and put it on the group inshallah, or send it as a private message to me or the course director, inshallah I'll give you feedback. Okay? حياكم الله وبياكم. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. Ustad, you're no longer audible. Hope I've been for everyone else. طيب. I'll see you in the workshop inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Everybody can hear me, right? طيب. Alright. حياكم الله. يلا. See you in the workshop inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.